Today is about educating you on VPV and how it can be used. So we're going to use it today to answer a very critical question. And that is, do you have to be a millionaire to own a new production super, hyper, or mega performance vehicle? Now the answer is it depends. It depends on your understanding of high performance production vehicle definitions. What's the difference between super, hyper, and mega? It also depends on you having knowledge or information on the relative cost of performance for each of the vehicles. It also requires you to be aware of what you value. Do you value performance, or do you value performance art? Are you a collector, or maybe it's all three? And finally, it requires recognition that there are market forces and a sales network out there designed to distract you from finding comparative vehicle performance values. If you're aware of all these things, then you're equipped to make some great decisions, and you probably don't need to be a millionaire. Maybe you're a almost millionaire, but there are a lot of choices out there that are very exciting, and we're going to share those with you. Now let's create a shared understanding of high performance production vehicle terminology. Specifically, what does super, hyper, and mega performance mean? Super performance vehicles do 0 to 60 miles an hour or 97 kilometers per hour in less than 3 seconds. They cover a quarter mile in approximately 11 seconds or less, and they can reach or exceed a top speed of 180 miles per hour or 297 kilometers per hour if they're not electronically speed limited. Examples include the Chevy C8 platform, the Stingray, the Z06, and the E-Ray, the BMW competition platform, the M3, the M4, and the M5 specifically, the Dodge Hellcat, the Dodge Demon, and specific Tesla performance models. Hyper performance vehicles are super performance vehicles that can also exceed 200 miles per hour or 322 approximately kilometers per hour, and are generally produced in limited numbers, and their starting price is typically over $200,000 US. Examples include Ferrari SF90, the McLaren 765 LT, the Lamborghini SVJ, and the Porsche 911 Turbo S. And finally, mega performance vehicles are hyper performance vehicles that generate a minimum of 1,341 horsepower, that's 1 megawatt of power, making them capable of reaching or exceeding 250 to 300 miles per hour. That's approximately 402 to 483 kilometers per hour, and that's fast. These are produced in extremely limited numbers, sometimes 25 units, maybe to 100 units, with prices starting above $2.5 million US. You definitely need to be a millionaire to qualify or be selected to purchase one of these extraordinary vehicles. Examples include the Renault Navara, the Bugatti Chiron, the Koenigsegg Jesko, and the Hennessy Venom F5. Okay, now that we have a shared understanding of what super, hyper, and mega performance vehicles represent, let's talk about vehicle performance value. VPV consists of 3 components. The first is the cost per second, which is a function of the MSRP divided by the total seconds in the relevant usable range. We're calling the usable range right now the 0 to 60 quarter mile time. We'll eventually upgrade VPV to include 0 to 180 miles an hour, 186 miles an hour, but we don't have the data to do that right now. The second component of VPV is relative value, or the RV. That is based on a benchmark vehicle, cost per second, the most expensive vehicle we have in the group, divided by the target vehicle, whatever vehicle we're evaluating, that vehicle's cost per second. That gives you an index for a multiple of times that that car is less expensive per second than the benchmark. The third component is VPVA. That's a percent of the retained value after 5 years. This is important to collectors or people who are focused on just performance art or have a bias toward performance art and collecting versus actually driving and experiencing the performance. Now, the VPV is agnostic. It can be applied to car, SUV, truck, motorcycle, and it also assumes that the vehicles that you're purchasing in that MSRP are ready for street or track use, have the appropriate safety equipment, warranties, and so forth, right? And it also assumes that you could take one of these vehicles and for a minimum relative cost to the MSRP, you could upgrade it to be whatever you want within reason. And we'll get into that more in subsequent videos. Now, our VPV benchmark vehicle that represents a relative value of 1, because it's the benchmark, is the 2023 Bugatti Senza DC. It's an extraordinary vehicle. It costs $8.6 million or $723,000 per second of performance delivered, right? It's the most expensive vehicle in our 2-second club, which is a group of 80 vehicles that meet the super, hyper, and mega performance criteria we discussed earlier. Okay, now that we have a shared understanding of what super, hyper, and mega performance vehicles represent, and we understand the basics of vehicle performance value, let's use VPV to figure out if a non-millionaire or barely millionaire can afford a super, hyper, or mega performance vehicle. Using 80 vehicles from 21 OEMs that meet our 2-second club performance criteria, we have the following 4 charts to represent. Now, these charts have all 80 cars listed on them, and they're broken into 4 subgroups. The top 20, the next 20, and so on down to the fourth quartile. Our first sort is by fastest vehicles to the slowest vehicles within the group. And that's using the minimum total seconds, or the total of 0 to 60 in quarter-mile times. That ranges between 10 and 14 seconds for every car in the group. Now, note the brands, the models, the MSRP, and the cost per second of the top 20 here based on usable acceleration. It's a pretty distinguished and expensive crowd. However, there are 3 unexpected vehicles in the group, in the subgroup, with comparable acceleration and MSRPs under $125,000 US, and with a cost per second of under $11,000 US. They are, all 3 are Tesla models and include the base Model S Plaid, the Model S Track Plaid, of which this channel now owns one of the first in the state and one of 6, I believe, in the United States at this time, as well as the Model X Plaid, which is the SUV. Now, this first group of the fastest are built by 13 OEMs, 13 out of the 21, and they include Aston Martin, Bugatti, Rimac, Pininfarina, Dodge, Tesla, Koenigsegg, Lucid, McLaren, Porsche, Lamborghini, Ferrari, and Zenvo. Now, the most distinguishing characteristic of this subgroup is that 60% of them have electric or hybrid drivetrains. The fastest ones in the group, the top 3, have electric or hybrid drivetrains. That's pretty astonishing. Now, the second group of 20 adds 2 more OEMs to the mix, Hennessy and Mercedes. All the rest of the cars in the group are built by the same 13 OEMs plus Hennessy and Mercedes. The third group of 20 adds Chevy, Audi, and BMW. And then the fourth group adds Ford, Honda, and Maserati for a total of 21 OEMs that produce 80 of the world's most popular and fastest super, hyper, and mega performance vehicles. Okay, so now let's flip the focus from acceleration in that usable range to affordability. Let's think beyond acceleration. We sort our 80 vehicles based on the lowest vehicle performance value cost per second. Since we know the cars in the group already have a usable acceleration somewhere between 10 and 14 seconds total, right? Okay, so now the most affordable vehicles rise to the top and are in the top 20. These top 20 vehicles are potentially accessible to barely millionaires and non-millionaires. The VPV CPS column shows the vehicle with the lowest CPS or cost per second is about $5,700, and it has a relative value index of 126. That means on a cost per second basis, it's 126 times less expensive than the Bugatti Sensibility, right? That means the Tesla Model X SUV is less expensive than a Bugatti with comparable performance, and you can even bring the family along for a ride. So the C8 Corvette is the next vehicle that pops out here, and it has the second highest vehicle performance value relative value index of 114. With an MSRP of $88K, it provides a solid supercar platform that you can progressively upgrade. You can do the engine, the suspension, the brakes, aero, if your intent is to run with the world's best on the track or in competitive events. You could actually invest 100 to 200K in this platform and have a car that would run with the best at IMSA. So it's a incredible value when you compare it in this way. Now, the Porsche Turbo S 997, the 2011. If you could pick one of those up for $113,000 US dollars, it has a VPV relative value of 85 and a retained value, the VPVA, of 85%. That is an extraordinary vehicle and collectible as well, right? So you can have a legend at a reasonable price that can also be upgraded to run with the best in the world. I don't know about you, but the prospect here is really exciting. Now, note the top 20 VPV brands purely on VPV relative value are Tesla, Chevy, Dodge, BMW, Mercedes, Nissan, and Porsche. The MSRPs range from $79,000 to about $143,000, which may actually be accessible for non-millionaires and almost millionaires. The remaining three VPV RV charts continue until you reach the VPV reference vehicle number 80, which is the Bugatti Sensibility, right? However, it's important to note that as you go down in vehicle performance value, you get closer to the more expensive vehicles. They are extremely rare, they're exclusive, made in limited numbers, and that's why they have the highest VPVAs of 100%. What we're saying here is that you'll at least get back what you paid for it, if not more, right? So that's a collector focus, and it should make sense to everyone that's looking at these numbers. Okay, so now we've answered the question, or at least partially answered the question, do you have to be a millionaire to own a super, hyper, or mega performance vehicle? The answer is maybe not. Now, if you're not interested in just performance and you're more of the performance art type or collector, VPV is also useful for making some really interesting decisions. For example, would you buy this Bugatti, or would you rather have this collection of 7 vehicles? Would you buy this Rimac Navara, or would you prefer to have these 9 vehicles? Finally, would you buy this Lamborghini Revuelto, or would you prefer to have these 3 vehicles? The possibilities and the decision trees here are endless, right? So, but maybe you can't afford any of these vehicles, right? You can't afford a single one of the vehicles in the top 20. There is a final solution, and that is the best performance, high performance value in the world is one of the 7 top superbikes that can be had for, say, under $50,000. These superbikes have a cost per second of less than $5,000 and a VPV relative value of 172, which is even way higher than the Tesla in the top 20 cars that we just evaluated with VPV. From a driver and passenger comfort and safety perspective, though, the cars are probably a better choice. But if you have the need for super and hyper performance vehicle speed and you can't afford 4 wheels, then 2 wheels is your path to heaven. Now you should have a solid understanding of why Sound of Speed selected the C8 Corvette platform and the Tesla Model S track plaid as reference vehicles for the channel. We're super excited to have you join us. Please subscribe, watch the next video, and you'll get a sense of the performance that we experienced in the Tesla just this last week. Thanks for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you.